Hello, this is the Commercial Landscaper Podcast with Robert Clinkenbeard. This show will transform your leadership by developing all areas of your life, business, family, personal and health. Only by fine-tuning yourself will you truly operate at a highly functioning leader. Super excited today to announce that we're just surpassed the 100th edition of the Commercial Landscaper Show. And we're going to see better things from this year. We're going to be introducing some education, courses in leadership and sales that you could apply and join and try to improve yourself. So hopefully you can join us in some of these courses and reach out if you want to hear some new guests. This is all about bettering you, bettering your business, and make you function at a super high level. Thanks again, everyone. Cheers. Hi, this is Robert Clinkenbeard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. I'm excited today to be joined by Stephen Gault. Stephen is out of Dallas, Texas. And Stephen, thanks for joining us today. Tell us a little bit about you, about your background.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm really glad to be here. As you'd mentioned, we're here based out of Dallas. Our company is called EcoMow Lawn Landscape. We've been in business for a little less actually than 4 years. It's been a quite a challenging business for us, just primarily because we are 100% battery operated company. So we kind of got into the game long before everybody else jumped into the electric space, and it certainly has come with its challenges. But I absolutely love it. Got a passion for what it is we're doing. We're certainly on the cutting edge of where technology's headed. And I couldn't be happier and so glad to be here with you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, that's like, I've got so many questions I can ask you. I mean, what was the initial, I suppose, impetus to get you to move towards electric?
Yeah, that's a good question. I jumped into this game fully electric. We did not formerly have a gas-powered company. In fact, my wife and I were just walking the dog one day 4 years ago, and I had a different job at the time. It was an office job, and I was kind of looking to make a switch. And I was outside moving around, walking the dog, and I heard the gas-powered leaf blowers just kind of blasting. And I said, Melissa, I said, there might be a market for an all gas powered lawn care company. And that's where we kind of got our start on it. And I jumped into it full force and, pulled some money out of savings and got a setup going and started marketing the business and just kind of grew from there.
That's awesome. So you've been in business now for how long, and what sort of size you at right now in terms of either number of employees or revenue, whatever you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. About 4 years. That first year was pretty slow for us. We really didn't get rolling, quite honestly, until COVID hit. And just as soon as COVID hit, we'd noticed that we were starting to get a lot of phone calls from people that were at home, that used to be working in offices, and they're now working at home, and they wanted to be on their Zoom calls. And that's when the phone just really started blowing up for us. And we went from, maybe having 15 clients our first year to 45 or 50 that second year. And then we just consecutively, we doubled the number of clients that we had every year until now. We've got about 230 clients that we service on the regular. So that's about 3 crews that we have. We've got the 2 crews and then 1 landscaping crew. We've got, of course, I'm still out in the field working myself with the guys as much as I can. But we've got 5 guys that are working with us, and we're looking forward to next year, and hopefully, we're going to turn the screws on this thing and see if we can't double that number again.
Ah, nice job. That's awesome. That's a tremendous growth. And what again, there's so many questions I can ask, but you've obviously probably experienced some. I mean, everybody starting a business comes across challenges, whether it be, lack of money to fuel that growth, lack of people, trying to get contacts, trying to do that marketing, but you've obviously added that extra dimension there with your electric power. So what are some of the core challenges, especially along the battery electric line?
Yeah. So old. I've got a marketing background, so I've always kind of been in that space, my entire, working life. So this was, and sales and marketing to a certain degree is a pretty transitional skill. In the past, I was a physician recruiter and I was selling doctors to hospitals, and now, we're selling lawn care services. But the actual sales and marketing process is a very transitional thing. So we were able to market the business and get out in front of the clients, pretty rapidly. And the issues that we faced uh, were just primarily related to electric. When we first got into it, we thought we had the right amount of equipment. We thought we had enough batteries to sustain the amount of workload that we had, only quickly to find out that we didn't. So we had to adjust our processes internally. We had to look at what our scheduling looked like, just so we could make sure that we could service every client that we had on our schedule. So I think we kind of we had some rapid growth. As soon as we hit that kind of go phase of our business, we started bringing in a lot of clients, and the issue became, oh, wait a second, how are we going to service all these clients? So that kind of forced us into getting more involved into that on the onboard charging, on the go charging solutions, just primarily because having enough batteries on the van just wasn't the right solution for us to keep that workflow going. So that's really been our biggest challenge. And I know I speak for other people in our industry that are specifically doing this with batteries. That's what we're all studying on right now. We all know that electric powered equipment doesn't have the strength of the gas powered equipment. I mean, a gas powered mower still cuts grass better than an electric powered mower to date. Now, granted, that will change eventually. But it takes a little bit more time when you're an electric company. The job just takes a little bit longer. So you do have to make sure that you allow yourself a little bit more time to do the work. And then again, having that onboard charging ability that's been the biggest struggle that we've all faced.
No, I can only imagine. And I've seen some setups with different companies, but how, I mean, over those number of years, have you, and again, you don't necessarily have to talk about brands or anything, but have you stuck with one brand and just given feedback so they can make improvements, or have you switched to different brands? How have you gone through that type of process?
Yeah. Again, another great question. So we're about 99% Ego brand. Ego has been kind of our brand of choice from the get go. We started this business with some Ego power tools. We ended up getting a good relationship with the folks at Ego. I've representative at Ego that if I've got questions that are related to any particular products that we're using or warranties or that nature, he's always been available for me to communicate with. He's hooked me up with a local dealer here in the area. I am on a phone call twice annual, roughly, with their product development team to just kind of talk about our experience with their equipment in the field. I'm able to share with them kind of detailed information as far as it's breaking more often than other machines. Yeah, to a certain degree, we're probably their best field test representatives because we're outside beating this equipment up all day long. So we've just been primarily using the Ego brand tools. Been very, very happy with them, and we've got just about every piece of equipment that they own, including the zero turn mower. It's a relationship that we have with them. Yeah, there are other brands that are out there. I've spoken with and demoed products from other brands as well, Greenworks products. I know that Steel's got a pretty strong brand out right now. Their Steel commercial brand. Saw them at Expo last week. I was just blown away by the quality of the tools that they're using. So they've got some great tools. As you know, everybody's coming into this game. I can share with you that of the 10 companies that do what we do in the electric space, everybody is using something different. We have guys that I talk to that are specifically using Makita. I've got 2 or 3 other companies that we speak with that are only using Greenworks products. The end of the day, we're all still having the same struggles with that equipment. It really comes down to just the durability of the machine and the runtime of the battery. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
No, no, that's a great answer. And I mean, I suppose to take that stage further, yeah, I mean, I know the Expo show was just the other week, but that can also be pretty overwhelming. You've got all this, just like a kid in the candy store where you've got all this bright shining things, you've got the electric companies there. I mean, how do you even start to evaluate, where if I wanted to switch to either full electric or even start part of my company doing electric, how do you even start to choose a company? What's some of the key things that you should be looking for?
Well, I think one of the things that we're all focused on is the warranty of the tool. There it varies from brand to brand. I know there are a few newcomers in the industry. For instance, last week at Equip, uh, Cress was there, KRESS, which is a new tool, kind of been flying under the radar for a while, but they did a massive rollout at Equip. They have some pretty innovative technology in their batteries where some of these batteries are able to charge in 8 minutes, which is just mind blowing. So, you know, it's things like that we're all looking for. We're looking for the advancements in the battery technology. We want faster charging. At the end of the day, we don't want to carry 15 batteries on a truck for a two-man crew to get our work done on a day in and day out basis. We want to carry as few batteries as we possibly can. We want to be able to charge those batteries as quickly as we can, and we want that machine to have some durability so it's going to hold up under, the conditions that our crews are facing, 6 days a week when they're cutting, 15 to 20 lawns per day. So ultimately, yes, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the durability of the equipment and the durability of the battery and the ability for that battery to charge as quickly as it possibly can and last as long as it possibly can. Be capable of being able to support a high number of cycles in its charge life.
No, yeah, I mean, all great points there. And you touched on earlier, when you start to think about, yeah, you don't want to carry all these batteries, your preference is to charge on site. And when you start talking about 8 minutes, I mean, those types of changes are game changers. How do you even, unless you're, mechanically or got an engineering background, how do you even start to think about setting up some type of charging trailer, solar panels, just to get that right setup there?
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, the easiest way for me to answer that question is you just have to have a passion. Once you have a passion to look, this is what I'm going to go out and do, then you're going to do the research and you're going to dig into it and say, okay, I'm going to run an electric powered company or I'm going to transition from gas power to electric. If you invest some time in the research and technology, the internet is, I mean, it's a plethora of information The resources found on the internet now, they're all there at the ready, so if there's somebody that's jumping into this game now, opposed to when we got into it 4 years ago, when we got into it, the information was very limited. And we started by using these little Goal Zero portable power stations, which are used typically on like tailgate parties. And it's like a 100 amp hour battery, and you would plug your rapid chargers into it, and then you would charge it overnight. But if you try to operate under, as a professional, there's not you can't stack enough of these Goal Zero Yeti 1000s on top of each other to keep going. So you're continuously expanding your setup. You're starting with, yeah, a small lithium onboard battery of a 100 amp hour battery. Maybe you're in a 12-volt setup. And then as you begin to understand your usage of power and how much power do I actually need, because it does matter. If you're just a one-man crew, you're not going to need the same type of setup that a 2 or a 3-man crew will. You're not going to need that onboard charging capacity. So if you're running a 2-man crew or a 3-man crew, um, you can either just learn by doing and finding out, which is what we did the hard way. Of, you think you got this great setup, and then here in the field, and then your guys are calling you at 2 o'clock in the afternoon saying, "Hey, I don't have any battery left. We have to come home." So, and that's what we went through, and that's what all these guys that I've been talking to for a couple years now. We all went through this together. Um, so yeah, you learn by doing, and now as I mentioned, there's all these companies they're coming out with these onboard charging setups now. Greenworks they had an incredible van at Equip. Or I'm sorry, not a van. It was a cargo trailer that they had. I think it was like a 6x14 cargo trailer. You can look it up online. This thing's amazing. Had like a 25 or a 30 kilowatt battery on board. Had about 15 hand tools hanging. It was just a massive machine with a digital monitor inside for monitoring all the systems. And I mean, this thing was absolutely loaded. Now, granted, it's pricey thing, but um, you know, these guys they're all coming into the space now. Steel had a setup there at Equip that was very similar to the one that Greenworks had. I know Ego's working on one as well. We went old school. We were buying these batteries, by themselves, and I was ordering solar panels from Renogy and I'd never built a solar setup in my life, but I knew I needed it. So I had to figure out how to do it. So I didn't have the resources. I didn't have the knowledge of other people doing it. So I just had to dig into it and, constantly just learn by failing forward. But long-winded way to answer your question.
No, that's good.
You know,
Good
the
information.
short answer is just go to the internet.
Okay. And tap into other professionals. So,
Yeah.
how is it being received by your clients, and what is the typical demographics of your clients?
Yeah. Well, as you know, and as most people would suspect, that California is definitely more rich in the eco-friendly solutions for lawn care and maintenance, et cetera. So everything's kind of born out of everything that started happening in California, and it's beginning to migrate its way. We have transients that have come here from California that moved to Dallas. Several big have expanded here and brought folks in from California. And I would say that probably 50% of our clientele right now are people that have moved here from California, and they were traditionally used to having a battery powered lawn care service whenever they were in California. And then they moved to Dallas and quickly found out that there's only one company here. Well, there's actually two. There's us and one other company are the only two companies in Dallas that are actually offering this service. So naturally, that's what they've been used to. So that makes the phone ring. Um, Further, I mean, we have a demographic of, we've got a lot of organic gardeners. We cater to folks that are, heavy into into the organic garden, and they're in vegetable gardening, and they're beekeepers, and they're just more outdoor, earth friendly people. So Texas is kind of a interesting. I think we're probably going to be the last state in the union to kind of standardize electric power equipment here. But yeah, I would say that it's primarily the folks that have migrated here from California.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, I mean, I know you said you jumped straight in when you started your business, you jumped straight into electric, but I mean, you probably have access to data to compare your operating costs compared to a normal sort of gas centric company. How do the costs compare?
Um, I don't have a lot of data into that, quite honestly. Um, it's something that we kind of we don't really know, you know. We do know it. What we do know is the upfront investment is more because when you've got to buy, $3, 4, $5,000 worth of onboard charging equipment just to make your day, that that's a tough pill to swallow when you're getting into the business. So the upfront cost is certainly, I mean, I would have to say probably 50% greater than that of a gas powered company. So I know there are other companies that are out there that are probably have a little bit more insight into that. I know that Michael Reed over at Quiet Lawn in South Carolina, he's been at this. He's kind of the godfather in the industry. He's been at it for a whole lot longer than all of us have. He's probably the man to ask that question to. I can say that I've got a close friend of mine who has a landscape company here in Dallas. It's been in operations for 20 years, all gas powered. It doesn't have any immediate plans to make that transition over to electric. I'm sure that day will come eventually, at least on the maintenance side of his business. Um, but what I can say is from the conversations that we have with each other, he's at the gas station a lot more than I
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
am.
And
Uh,
it's costly these days as well.
It is, and, there is the cost of the electricity as well, and that's the reason why we've beefed up our solar setup. So when we're coming home at the end of the day, and these trucks and these trailers are coming back to the shop at the end of the day, so we're having to plug these things in, and we're having to charge them overnight. So, to recharge those big lithium batteries that are on board all of these rigs, so these things are ready to go the next day. Now, granted, we're getting some power from solar when we're out during the day, but it's not enough solar to completely replenish that battery. So this thing's not on pilot yet. We are still plugging these things into the wall. We are still pulling juice. So we do have that cost. I think that obviously we've all learned that the more solar you can have and the more you can charge your rigs from solar to replenish that onboard battery, then obviously, the better situation that you're in. These batteries are expensive, these big 10 amp, 12 amp hour batteries that we use in these ego machines, they're $450 a pop. So
Oh, well, okay, yeah.
yeah, and to run those zero turn mowers, I mean, those zero turn mowers, they'll hold up to 6 batteries. So, when you're kind of doing some quick math on that and you say, all right, $400, you've got $2,400 of batteries in a $6,000 machine. So you're at $7,500. Now that's your initial investment. Now, granted, that's half the cost of, what some of these other zero turn machines are out there. But, a lot of this new technology, it hasn't been tested yet. And, they're still working out the bugs on this stuff. It's all brand new.
Yeah. And how long would that, if you were to run that continuously, what would be the operating time for a fully charged right on
Yeah.
more?
Yeah. Well, first of all, that depends on what type of grass you're cutting. So, I
Right.
mean, if you're cutting where we're 80% St. Augustine here in Dallas, we can probably cut about 3 acres. So most of our lots around here on the residential side are about a quarter to a third of an acre. And that's on the zero turn mower with 6 batteries that are in it. So each one of those batteries is a 10 amp hour battery. So 60 amp hours of power on that, 22, 25 horsepower zero turn mower. We're able to cut about 6 lawns on the zero turn.
Okay.
Before that thing has to be backed up into a trailer and charged. And it takes about an hour and a half to recharge that setup. So there are some bigger batteries that are coming out. We're excited about that. We know that there's some batteries that have double the capacity that what we're currently using that are going to be out here in the very near future. The downside to that is they're going to cost twice as much.
Of course, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah. And there are other machines, Greenworks, not Greenworks, but Mean Green. They've been at this game for a long time. They do a lot of the professional grade stuff only. They've got units out. Yeah, their systems are doing 8 hours of runtime, and then that's on that
Cool.
St. Augustine. If you're running it through the heavier stuff like the Zoysias and the heavy Bermudas, you may only get about half the cut time.
Cool. As we wrap things up here, what would be your parting message to somebody who's maybe currently using grass, keeps thinking about diving into electric? What would be your message to them?
My message would be if you're considering that move, start with the hand tools. Just start by using the hand tools. Stick with your mower that you have. That's where you're going to, if you just dive into it head first with the mowers and everything else, you're going to be disappointed and you're going to find yourself wanting to go back to gas. The reality of it is we've still got a little ways to go with the mowers. But the hand tools, they're where they need to be. There's a lot of advantages to these tools when they're not gas powered. I mean, they've got brushless motors, so there's a lot less vibration in the machines. There's a lot less noise, obviously. We cater to a lot of folks that like us because we are less noise. So that would be my advice to anybody. Just check out a string trimmer or two. They're easy tools to use and they're affordable. I'd start there.
Okay, awesome. Well, Stephen, if somebody wants to get in touch with you or your group just to learn a little bit more, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can reach us on our website. It's ecomow.com, ECOMOW.com. We're also on Instagram and LinkedIn. I think we've got links to just about every one of our social channels on the website, and we'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Stephen, really appreciate your time today. Thanks for giving us an education about making that switch, and good luck with your growth of your business. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That was the Commercial Landscaper podcast hosted by Robert Clinkenbeard, and I'm the author of the Ironman Mindset for Entrepreneurs. If you want to find out more about the show, you're welcome to go to thecommerciallandscaper.com, or if you want to learn more about courses, education, buying some books, even if you want to just drop a note and suggest a guest, I'd love to hear from you. Again, this is Robert Clinkenbeard, the Commercial Landscaper podcast. Cheers, everyone.